Hello and welcome to this episode of Packet Tracer. In this episode, we want to talk about creating things, and specifically, we want to create a traffic light today. So whenever we want to create a thing from scratch, we can use this object, which is under the components, under the boards, and this generic thing. First, we want to rename it to traffic light so that we know what is it about. And now we want to open and start editing it. The first thing that we want to do is to go to the IO config tab, because I want to tell you a few things here about the IO config tab. You know that things communicate with other things through IO or input output, and based on that we have a few options in here. This thing can have network adapters. We have a few options for network adapters. For example, we have wireless options, and also we have wired Ethernet options as well. We can have digital slots for this thing, up to 6 digital slots that is allowed. We can have analog slots, up to 4 analog slots, and for USB ports we can have up to 1 USB port that is allowed. And also remember that for smart devices, if we define this thing as a smart device, then there will be the physical and the config tab. But if we define it as a component, there is no physical tab, there's only the other tabs. Now we want our traffic light to be smart, so I will choose this as a smart device. Now let's go to the thing editor. We have the properties tab, we have the layout tab, and we have the rules tab. In the properties tab, we are going to add the components that are going to make up our traffic light. The first component that I want to add is the base of the traffic light. I will name this component as base. We do not need a slot mapping for this component, because there will be no changes to the base of the traffic light. But I do need a picture of the base of the traffic light for this component, but no slot mapping. We will add the next component, which is the red light of this traffic light. We do need a slot mapping for this red light. The slot mapping, I will use slot number 1, and we will need 2 pictures for this red component, which is the red color, and also the off state. So basically, because this component will have 2 states, which is on and off, that's why I have added 2 pictures for this component. The next component that we want to have is the yellow part. It will use the same digital mapping slot, which is number 1, and we will add yellow, and we will add the off state. The next component we want to add is green. It will use the same digital slot mapping, and we will add the pictures for the green part of the traffic light. Now we want to go to the layout tab, where we have the opportunity to organize all the components in their places and their proper places and set their default states. Let me separate all the components because they are located in here. They are all on top of each other. I have separated them. Now I want to put them in their proper places. Red in here, yellow in here, and green in here. And we know that each of these components, they have 2 states. Now I can cycle between these 2 states. You can see the off and on state, and each one of them can be cycled. And basically, if something is not correct in here, something is behind something else, then you can always use these 2 options to bring items back and front. But for us, everything is good, so I will leave it the way it is. Now the rules tab will actually define when to swap the image of the components based on the slot mapping, the value of the slot mapping. For the base component of the traffic light, I do not need to have a rule because it will not change, but for the other subcomponents, for the green, red and yellow, I need to have rules. For red, if the state is low, it means it's off, the image will be in off state. And again, we will add another one for red. If the value of the slot will be high, that means that the red light is on, and that's why we have selected the on state of the image. And the same way we will add the rest of the components. Now we are done with the rules, but remember that the slot, because we have used digital slot, it has two states of low and high, because digital components, they have two states all the time. But if we wanted to have more states, then we could have used analog slots. Now let's go to the programming tab of this thing, where the main functionality of this thing is going to happen. Now programming is the logic that makes the traffic light functional, and the traffic light will loop through different states of on and on at the same time. And the traffic light will continuously turn on and off its lights, and all of that logic will be created here in the programming part of this thing. Here I have a project already created which is called Blink. Now I will open it. Now I will go to this JavaScript file, and instead of this code I will paste my own code. As you can see here in this code, that it has a loop function which will continuously turn on and off the lights of the traffic light. I will paste this code for you in the description of this video so you can use it for your own as well. Now let's run our code to see if it has actually started to work. Let me move this traffic light to a proper place. Here I have my traffic light and I want to run the traffic light for the first time. Let's run it. And as you can see, the traffic light is blinking, turning on and off all of its lights. Just like any other device, we want to save our traffic light as a custom template of a device. Now we can come here, custom devices dialog. In here I can find my device, or I can select it. Now the traffic light, I will call it my own traffic light. I will save it in the miscellaneous subcategory here in the packet tracer, and now I can add it. It will ask me for a template file to be saved. I will just save it as default. And now as you can see, we have our traffic light in here to be used later on whenever we want to, and we can create many instances of the same device over and over again. That's it for this episode, everyone. I hope this has been informative for you, and I would like to see you in the next episode. Stay tuned.